welcome back to our video series. In this episode, we'll be creating a fantasy environment. So the primary tools we'll be using is the multi-biome generator and the large assembly generator. So as you can see, we have a quick landscape we've already made here, and it has a bunch of different materials on it. So we have a couple of layers, and these material layers on the landscape will be really important for our multi-biome. But before we get into that, let's start by creating some large assemblies. So as we'll be creating a path which leads up to our castle later on in the scene, we'll actually be using these large assemblies to really block out the foreground. And as the large assembly scatters onto the landscape as well as a mesh of your input, it can actually really help with scenes like this. So creating cliffs on the side of, the hills and things like that. So with our multi-biome now, we're essentially creating a few different biomes, and we're keeping the area quite small to begin with so we can really define our biome. And once we're happy with it, then we'll enlarge the splines, and that will help us create the scene. And these systems work exactly as before, but we have a couple different options for actually inputting custom meshes. So not only can you just swap the meshes for one biome, but you can swap it for all of the biomes inputted. So we can have this more deserty one, and we can have a more natural forest looking one as well. And as you can see, once the biome is set up, we can just drag the spline along and extend the areas as needed. Now the scene's coming together now, but we just want to do a few tweaks and some manual adjustments as well. And what we're doing now is just creating some floating islands. So we've adjusted the slope, and that will essentially allow foliage to be scattered all the way around. And now let's begin by creating our path. So we'll use the path cut to cut through the biomes, and this will allow us to direct the user. Let's just enlarge this section a little bit. And once again, we'll just use the foliage brush to paint in some extra detail. Let's add some trees to our floating islands. Then the final touches of this scene is really going to be, swapping these elements that we've set up on our multi-biome and then hand placing some assets as well. So the bit of story in this scene and the whole point is for the Lego characters. So along the path we'll be having Lego characters, and it will lead all the way to a Lego inspired castle. And this project could essentially be used for, Lego stuff or anything you want essentially. The models can be swapped out for whatever you want, but we just wanted to show you how you could create a more fantasy environment, so not super realistic but more stylized. And the tools work great either way. So if you do want a stylized environment over a realistic one, then you can completely do that as we're showing here. So let's build the castle. So with a modular kit bash kit we're actually using, we can just start by blocking out the scene, and where needed we'll paint foliage over these models, and where they're not needed we'll leave as is. And now we can start by actually creating the castle. And the thing with these modular kits is they work really well. So, as you know, that's the purpose. So it's not just one castle, but you can actually create multiple variants from it. And with this being said, all of these assets could technically be used with the PCG systems. So we could scatter moss or vines all on these castle walls. And it's seeing we've not really done that as we don't want to go too crazy with detail, but it's more letting you know that you can do that. Cool. And now we've created a few pieces, we can just duplicate them around. And with our Lego bricks as well, as this is a Lego inspired environment, we can just start by placing them in the castle itself to basically blend in the Lego into the real and getting the final look of the scene. So the next part of the video will be all based around the UI and how to set up an actual experience. So the first thing we'll do is just drag our capture tool in and a hotspot. And the hotspot is essentially where the viewer's eyes will be. So let's just pilot this and we'll face where we want to go, get the correct height. And there we have it. And then, as you can see, we're just resetting the rotation, as the rotation will always render the same way, no matter what. And with our panorama manager, we can see that we've now set up multiple hotspots. So we're just going to gather the points, recalculate, and now they'll all be in order. And we can simply just drag and drop or use the picking tool on the right to change the order of these. And then with the BP product from the left, we're essentially setting up these Lego figures as mock products. So we've dragged that over one of them here, and this blue box is actually going to be invisible, but it will create an invisible clickable area that the user will be able to touch. So we'll just put this as artwork or back to product. And artwork is essentially for art, product is for product, so we do want product in this case. And we set up a clickable style, and that has a custom sprite sheet which we've just inputted. So when we drag that on, you can now see that we have a Lego inspired sprite sheet. And we're going to do the exact same thing with BP navigation. So once again, you just drag it from the left side, and we're going to use this for floor arrows to direct the user where to click. So this works exactly the same. We'll just duplicate our sprite, and then we'll add in our new sprite. And be careful to adjust the settings as well if you do need to. In our case, they are both the same size. We'll drag that on to clickable style, and we will now have a Lego inspired sprite on the floor as well. And there we have it. So this is what the sprites look like. And essentially, we have a functional tour. So we've gone through in the behind the scenes, and we've actually gone through and placed all of these CTAs over the figurines. And that's simple as it is. So we'll go to the end, and all of our products will now be shoppable essentially. So thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you in the next one.